Hello everyone, my name is Ingrid and this is Ingrid Reads a Lot. For today's video, I wanted to do 24 books for 2024, and honestly because it's very catchy. I love the title and I wanted to go through my physical TBR as well as books that I'm excited about that are coming out this year and just tell you guys about those said books. And I only have three, is it three? Yeah, I only have three books that are not out yet and that I don't own because I want to do another video of books that I'm excited about that are coming out in the first 3 months of the year. So let's get started because it's a lot of books. There is absolutely no order to this. I just piled all the books on my feet and I'm just gonna tell you guys about them and why I want to read them. First up, we have Vespertine by Margaret Rogerson. I believe this is a YA fantasy about a nun, a Grey sister, and their job is to wash bodies of the dead. The reason why I bought this and I picked it up was because I love Sorcery of Thorns by Margaret Rogerson and I absolutely love this book, so I picked up her other book. I love her writing style and I feel like she does really well world building, and I want to read this book. It's just one of those books that I haven't really heard a lot of people talk about, so I just didn't pick it up. And I've had it for a long time. So this one is kind of a new acquisition. This is The Last House on Needless Street by Catriona Ward. I picked this up because someone said that, because I've read Sundial by this author and I really enjoyed it. It's down there, I'm not gonna get it. And that is also a horror that I enjoyed, but I forget who it was. I saw someone talking about that and that this book is their favorite out of all of this author's writing. It sounds interesting. I think there's 3 people that live in this house. One of them is a cat that likes to read the Bible. Do I need to know anything else? No, I don't. I'm just gonna go into it like that. I don't need to know anything else. Next up, we have The Eye of the World by Robert Jordan. I honestly got this because everyone and their mother that reads fantasy talks about this book, and oh my god, this is so reflective. I also know that Brandon Sanderson finished out the series and that people that are fans of this series really enjoyed his take on the series. So all of that to say, I know nothing about this. I want to read it, and I'm pretty sure it's a TV show, right? Am I sounding stupid for saying that? Yeah, it's on Amazon. Oh yeah, The Wheel of Time. I think the show is called The Wheel of Time, and the first book is The Eye of the World. But I honestly don't know anything about the world, but I do want to read it. Next up, we have The Ninth Reign by Jen Williams, and this is a book that Joshana gifted me, and I have never read it, and I want to. Elle has also read this, and I think she really enjoyed the series, so I want to pick this up, but I just haven't. I know it has something to do with dragons and it just sounds interesting and I do want to read it. This is a high fantasy and that is the reason why I really haven't picked it up, because I just have to be in a specific mood to learn all the different parts of worlds, but I do want to read this. Next up, we have Fledgling by Octavia Butler, and this is her take on vampires. I really do want to read this, and I think I bought this in New York when I went with Joshana. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. But I'm excited to see what her take is on a vampire, and I've heard good things about this. The premise of this book is that Shori, our main character, is found, well, she wakes up not knowing who she is, where she came from. She just knows that she has this insatiable hunger, and she finds out she's a vampire and she has no idea what vampires are. So you're kind of going with her through this, finding out who she is and all that, and what happened to her before she lost her memories. Next up, we have Bright Young Women by Jessica Knoll, and this is a mystery, I believe. Is it a mystery? Yeah, I think it is. It's set in 1978, and this is basically the story of the women that were affected or hunted down by a famous serial killer, and this is a real serial killer. But the cool thing about the book is that I've heard, and that is that it focuses on the victims, and the serial killer is never named, and I'm not going to name him, but I'm pretty sure you guys know who it is. But basically you're following these 2 women. One, I think one of her friends died, and the other one, I think her girlfriend was hurt but then ran away. It's something like that. I haven't read this obviously, but I have seen this book on a lot of people's favorites of the year, so I'm super excited to get it. I got it when I still had book of the month, but yeah, I'm excited to see her take on this sort of thing because I'm really interested in it. All right, next up we have Mr. Magic, and this is by Kirsten White. This is a horror novel. I'm super interested in the premise of this. These kids were all in a show called, I think the show was called Mr. Magic, or the person that was in the show, the main character was Mr. Magic. But the way that this book, the premise is online, I thought of like Barney And you know, when you watch Barney, there's all these little kids there. Basically, there was an accident at the time it was canceled, and these kids are all adults now, and they come back and they reunite again. And there's weird things because there's no evidence of the show ever. There's no like remaining episodes, so no one knows who produced it or who was in it or whatever. The only thing that they have is the memories of these children that were in the show. And I think there's the character of Mr. Magic. No one knows who it is either, I don't think. But I'm weirdly intrigued by the premise of this, so I picked this up and I absolutely love the cover. And then next up I have Nettle and Bone by T. Kingfisher. This is a dark fairy tale that everyone talks about and everyone loves, and it sounds right up my alley. The main character finds out that her sister is being abused by a prince and decides to go save her, but she finds out from a witch that she needs to do 3 impossible things in order to save her sister, and she does them and goes on an adventure to do that. Spoiler, I've already picked this up and I really loved it, and it is going to be on my January wrap up. Okay, and the next up we have Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies by Heather Fawcett. I'm picking this up because I saw that everybody and their mother absolutely loved that book last year, and it's, I guess, about Emily's Encyclopedia of Fairies, and she goes sort of on a adventure to find out more things. And I hear that there's like a romance and they're both a little bit quirky, and it just sounds like those books that you read when you want something very whimsical. Next up we have Iron Flame by Rebecca Yarros. I got this on release day and I have not read it. All I have seen is everybody who I enjoy watching their channels has not liked the sequel, so I don't want to read it. I mean, I have to read it because I bought it, right? That's one of my goals for this year. I don't want to read it because I feel like I'm not going to like it, because the people that didn't like it are the people that I have similar taste to, so I don't know. I really enjoyed the first book because I read it last year. I have videos on the channel. I read it at a time that I hadn't really read anything else, and so it kind of sparked that like love of reading fantasy for me again. I loved the book, but I'm not like a crazy fan where I don't see the faults of the book, if that makes sense. So I know that book wasn't the best like written fantasy ever, but it was just something that I really enjoyed. So I'm kind of bummed that a lot of people disliked this sequel, but I still have to read it because now I have it and I have to get through it. Or I can just DNF it, but I'm at least going to try. Next up we have The Adventures of Amina Al-Sarafi by Shannon Chakraborty. This is a new series by Shannon, and I picked this up because I loved City of Brass. I love her, the way she does her world, and all the history that's weaved into her fantasy novels. There's a lot of Middle Eastern history. This is about a pirate, and she is a woman, which is not very common for pirates to have been women. And she's also later, I think she's in her 40s, which I've heard that a lot of people enjoy that because we don't really have a lot of fantasy characters that are older. And she's also a mom, so I'm excited to read this. Next up, we have House of Flame and Shadow by Sarah J. Maas. If you followed me back on when I had the other channel, the old channel, you know that I absolutely despised House of Sky and Breath. I enjoyed Crescent City, the first one, but I really, really, really didn't like the second book. And here we are. Here we freaking are. You know, I'm going into this expecting the worst because then I won't be disappointed. But I'm reading this because, spoilers for House of Sky and Breath if you haven't read it, characters from ACOTAR show up on this world. And those are my favorite characters. So I have to read this. I have to see more of them. And that's the only reason I'm reading this. She caught me in the last like 2 pages of House of Sky and Breath because I didn't like the entire book. And then we see Rhysand and I'm like, of course we do. Because you just like to F with me, you know? But yeah, 850 pages just to see a couple characters, why not? I need to put these books in like a cart. Maybe I need like a book cart so that I know that these are the books I need to read. That's such a good idea. I'm gonna do that. Okay, next up we have Words of Radiance. How many times am I gonna tell you guys that I need to read this book? This is book 2 of The Way of Kings, which I absolutely loved. But these books are just so intimidating. And I don't know why, because I've already read Way of Kings and I like it, so I don't know why I'm intimidated. I don't know if it's the size. It has to be because, or I think it's because I keep touching my hair. I know it's annoying. Or it has to be because I haven't read it in a long time. Now I have to like either reread Way of Kings to read this or watch some video. I hope someone has done a video like this on the booktubes to like recap the Way of Kings so that I can go into this without having to reread it, because it is 1,000 pages long. And so is this one. I think this is even more. 1,080 pages. Okay, and then we have Throne of the Fallen by Carrie Maniscalco. No, yeah, is that her name? Yeah, Carrie Maniscalco. I'm gonna put this down because obviously it's trying to murder me. But basically, I don't know anything about this book. I picked it up because Kayla from Books and Lala enjoyed this book, I think, last year, and I was watching her wrap up. It's about Faye. Anything to do with Faye, I instantly want to read. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. It just triggers me and I want to read it. I really don't know anything else about it, but I also picked it up because the author wrote, what's the name of that series? Jack the Ripper series. I forget the name of the series. I'll put the picture up because I unhauled that, but that's a YA, and I think this is adult. But I really enjoyed that book when I read it when I was younger. I want to read it and see if her writing has gotten better, because I think that book that I read by her was her first. I know she has since written a very popular YA fantasy series, which I cannot think of for the life of me, but I do want to read this and see if I enjoy it. I have What the River Knows by Isabel Ibanez. I honestly don't know much about this. I just know, and the reason why I picked it up is because the blurb, I think on Goodreads, says something like The Mummy meets something else, and The Mummy, if you do not know, now you will, was one of my favorite movies growing up, literally. And the Mummy ride is one of my favorites at Disney World. So here we are. I don't really know much else, but I don't need to because I will read it. Next up, we have Ancillary Justice by Anne Leckie. This is a space opera. I enjoyed those. This is a space opera, I think, and I don't know anything else about it. I just know that lots of people love this, and I think I picked this up years ago when I saw someone talk about it, and that it's one of the better sci-fi novels out there, and I just haven't read it because I've owned it, and then I never picked it up. And then next up we have Empire of the Vampire, the stupidest name of a book ever, by J. Kristoff. And the reason I have this is because, one, I enjoy vampires, and two, because my good friend Roger says that this is a very, very good book. It's a fantasy, it's huge. I have read some of J. Kristoff's books and I enjoyed them, so I am going to try this because I enjoy vampires, and also Roger really liked this, so I'm going to try it, see if I like it. And then I think the next one of the series is coming out this year, so if I do enjoy it, then the next one will be out too. Some books that I've owned forever, and that one of them is Scythe by Neil Schusterman. I think everyone and their mother has heard about this. If you haven't, this is a YA, I think dystopian novel about this world that no one dies ever, and so these sides decide who dies, and they have to go to like a academy to learn what to do. We're following one of the people that I think is turning into a scythe, or is going to school to be a scythe. I don't know. I think this is really good, and I don't know why I haven't read it, because I think I will very much enjoy this, and I've had it for a very long time. Next up, we have something that I also have to read, and that I enjoyed the first book, so I don't know why I'm waiting, and that is A Gathering of Shadows by V. Schwab, a Darker Shade of Magic series, and I enjoyed the first book a lot, tremendously. The world building of this is perfection, and I don't know why I haven't picked this up. Everybody loves it, and I know I will too, so I don't know what I'm waiting for. But I have this one, I don't have the next one, and I know they changed the covers, and I think it's blasphemous because these covers are so much better. So, and I've seen the cover still, like I think there's still some of these left that haven't been sold, so I just need to buy the last one because I know I will enjoy this. Next up we have Leviathan Wakes by James S. A. Corey. This is another space opera that I know nothing about, and I picked it up because I wanted to read sci-fi. This is adult, and I think so is Ancillary Justice. I know nothing about this. I just know that this is a TV show, and that it is, they have like 5,000 books already. Well, not 5,000, but you know what I mean. I think there's like 10 books already. So if I enjoy this, then I will have a ton of books to read. Next up, we have Ship of Destiny by Robin Hobb. This is book 3 in the Ship of Magic series, and I enjoyed book 1 and 2. The reason I haven't read this is because I don't want it to end. I loved these are my first books by Robin Hobb. I know that all her other trilogies kind of tie in together, but I've read that you can read this separately, and I did read for books 1 and 2, and it was fine. And this is about ships, and dragons. I really, really like her writing. All right, and then one of the books that I haven't read yet, which is the last book in a series that it is the last book, right? Yeah. There's gonna be a spin-off series, but it's the last one for this series, and that is Defiant by Brandon Sanderson and Jancy Patterson, I think is her name. This is book 4 in the Skyward series, which is a YA sci-fi series that I absolutely loved. I want to get to this book by this year because I need to finish the series. Okay, and the next up we have An Education in Malice by S.T. Gibson. This is a dark academia novel by the same author of A Dowry of Blood, which is one of my favorite books of all time. This is I don't even know how to explain it. This is horror. It's called horror, but I mean, it's not super scary. But it's basically one of Dracula's brides writing him a letter as to why he is an abusive a-hole. It's amazing. I really, really, really loved it. So I want to see what this author does next. And this book is coming out. I think she has written other things, but I'm really interested in this one because this also has vampire, I think, because one of the characters in this book is Carmilla, I think is the name of the vampire, and I'm excited to see. I think this book comes out in February, so I will be getting that. And then next up, in the last book that I want to talk about, which, oh no, I lied, 2 more. Next up, we have Bride by Ali Hazelwood. This is Ali Hazelwood, if you don't know, is a contemporary romance author, and she's only ever written contemporary, and she also writes a lot of women in STEM professions, which I think was one of her like catchphrases when her books were coming out, because a lot of people enjoyed that the women in her books were scientific women, which I can appreciate. This one is her take on like paranormal, and I believe there is some sort of vampire. Is it vampire and werewolf, or just werewolf? I'm not sure. I just know that I want to read one of her books that are paranormal to see if I enjoy it, because I don't quite love her contemporary stuff. I read only one though, so who am I to talk? But I didn't love it, so I want to try this because I do love paranormal romance, and I think I will like it. We'll see. And then last up, and absolutely not least, because this is literally the book that I'm most excited about for this year, is Somewhere Beyond the Sea by T.J. Klune. This is the follow-up to The House in the Cerulean Sea, book 2, which I am super excited because I thought that book was a standalone. And I do think that it was supposed to be a standalone, but I think he did leave it some room to grow. And so I think that's what happened. Everybody adored that book, and I was one of them, but I'm really excited to see what the follow-up is because I'm so excited to see those kids. I did read last year, which I didn't talk to you guys about because I didn't do wrap up because it was one of the months that I wasn't filming, I read In the Lives of Puppets by TJ Klune, and I adored it. So good. And I just love how TJ Klune can write sci-fi and these fantastical stories, but put so much heart into it where you're like caring about these characters. I just love it. I'll leave you with that because I've hard talked for a very long time, and I apologize because I think this video is going to be very long, and I will see you guys on the next one. Goodbye.